Donna Bain, General Manager of Self-Help Workplace. We're an Australian disability enterprise. I've been working in the not-for-profit sector for my entire professional life and also extensive volunteer work, so I have a long-standing commitment to the not-for-profit sector. So Self-Help Workplace is an Australian disability enterprise, so our mission is to provide people with a disability with meaningful and productive employment so they can enjoy independent and fulfilling lives. So in order to achieve that objective, essentially we run a commercial business where we sell a range of products and services to businesses throughout Tasmania and interstate. So Self-Help Workplace is essentially a social enterprise. So we draw our income from three main sources. The sale of our commercial goods and services, that's responsible for 60% of our income. We get 30% from government because we deliver services to people with disability. So that's a funded service. And we draw 10% of our income from donations, grants and bequests. So in terms of our competitive advantage, we actually need to work in three different spaces. So we exercise our competitive advantage in each of those three areas and quite differently each time we do that. So in terms of our commercial goods and services, we're competing with a range of businesses in Tasmania, the mainland and overseas. So like any commercial business, we need to compete on price, quality and customer service. You really need to understand your customer, so you need to understand where they're coming from and what their expectations are in terms of quality and price. You need to have a very good understanding of your supply chain, so where your products are coming from and how much it's going to cost you to buy those products in. What it costs you to actually turn that raw material into a product or service. So the main costs of running the business, which are things like wages, operating expenses like insurance and power and water, regulatory costs, so all those sort of overhead expenses. You then need to work out what your profit margin needs to be in order to turn a buck, and then you need to sell it. You need to provide the quality product delivered in full and on time every time. Well, we have 4 commercial business units, so we have a timber production area, a corporate catering service, a second-hand clothing outlet and a mail house product assembly area. They're 4 very different production areas. They do entirely different product lines. You actually need to get your head around 4 different business structures, 4 different client groups, 4 different supply chains, so they all behave very differently. 90% of our work is business to business, but we have a small retail arm as well, so that market is very different. So you need to understand essentially what each of those marketplaces look like in some detail, and also managing the basics around cash flow and inventory and making sure your customers pay you on time and all those, just basically all those things about running a business, and we do that in the not-for-profit space. So we have some limitations around our workforce, we have some productivity challenges, so there are constraints around our business model in order for us to provide those services. Well, as I mentioned earlier, because we also draw our income from government funding and grants and donations, we also exercise our competitive advantage in both of those areas. So, for example, as a provider of a government service, we need to make sure we meet the government's quality standards. We need to be playing in that policy space, so making sure the government understands who we are and what we do to influence design of government policies and programs, because we are a key part of the National Disability Insurance Scheme. So we're getting used to what that space might look like, so designing our new processes and policies and systems to make sure we're ready for that bold new world, because we're not entirely sure what that means for us yet. And in the charity not-for-profit space, there are thousands of charities in Tasmania and nationally. You're competing for the philanthropic dollar. So what we need to do with potential donors and people who may provide a philanthropic partnership is, why should they invest their philanthropic dollar with us? So what's the difference their dollar could make when they make a donation to us? So that's a very different proposition that you go with to the marketplace.